It's now time for Matt and Dan in the house. Well, a very good day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Matt and Dan in the house of...
Quark.
Exactly.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good evening and good night. So, welcome to another episode of Matt and Dan House of Quark, and today's episode 14. 1-4, number 14. We've made it all the way. Lovely. So, you can watch us, of course, on our Facebook page at MNDHQ, or watch us on a YouTube channel. Just type in Matt and Dan House of Quark. You find us there on YouTube, or listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Anchor, Breaker, Overcast, and Pocket Casts as well, and lots of other third-party sites that you can find us on. Have a listen, and if you, as I always say, if you can, tell us where you're listening from. It'd be great to know. I know we've got listeners now apparently from Singapore. Singapore, yeah.
Singapore. Have you been there? Is that somewhere that you've been in the world?
I actually haven't. I've never actually been to Asia. That's one place, like part of the world, one corner of the world I actually haven't been to is Asia. So I've always wanted to go.
That's surprising.
Yeah, no, I haven't been to Asia. No, yes, obviously North America. I actually haven't been to Africa. I mean, I've gone past Africa, the continent of Africa. I never actually been on the. Well, like when you go, I don't know if you ever been past Gibraltar way. Like Gibraltar, literally, like Monaco and Gibraltar, literally, pretty much like touch. Well, they don't, but like you can just. It's weird. Like literally, are like that far apart. They're not far apart at all. You can literally wave to someone.
Strait of Gibraltar, that's what it's called, isn't it? The Strait of Gibraltar.
Yeah. It's apparently it's one of the busiest sort of like areas of water as well, because obviously you can imagine a lot of ships go back and forth and things. Trade and things or whatever. Anyway, so welcome to Matt and Dan House of Quark, episode 14. Now, before we get straight into it, it's now time for Trek News. That's it. It's now Trek News. And now we've got some very good Trek news for you.
Yes.
Captain Janeway returns to Star Trek.
Woo, yes. Captain Janeway.
She is back. So she's going to be in Star Trek Prodigy, isn't that right? Star Trek Prodigy. That's a brand new kids television series.
It's a brand new kids TV series that I think is going to be produced by Nickelodeon. Star Trek Prodigy. And... Captain Janeway is returning, and as Kate Mulgrew herself said, she will be the first children's captain.
I love that. That was brilliant when she said that. That was brilliant.
Yeah, when she said that, I got goosebumps. I was like,
because I know she was saying she wasn't too sure whether to do an animation, wasn't she? Because obviously, I mean, recently she did obviously Orange is the New Black and all that sort of stuff. A lot of people know her just for that, you know. Obviously, we know her for Star Trek, and she wasn't too sure about an animated series. And then she thought, actually, I quite like the idea of not having to put any makeup on, just rocking up to the studio and just being on the microphone and just reading out the script. So she was up for, and also like she said, she wants to be the first children's captain. And that's the thing though, I mean, I've been looking online, like on Instagram and all that, and some people are saying, is she going to be Captain Janeway or will she be Admiral Janeway? Is obviously it matters when it'll be set in what the timeline there, I guess. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, because of course she does make an appearance in Star Trek Nemesis, and in that she's Admiral.
She's Admiral, when she talks to Picard,
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. It's for a lot of fans. I remember I showed my sister, and she was really excited, and like all fans, I guess, really excited. Yes,
I think they're definitely. I know obviously they're trying to bring in a new audience, obviously a younger audience, which is great. But they are definitely, I think, doing it for us as well. They're going like, it is for your kids, but your dad can watch it as well, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So they're obviously thinking of that audience as well, why they brought,
I could just imagine your dad watching it.
No, maybe not my dad, no. But I'd watch it if I had if I had a son. I'd watch it with him or even her, whatever, I'd watch it, definitely, to see Captain Janeway. So yeah, very excited. We'd love to talk about Lower Decks. We would love to. Unfortunately, we live in a country called the United Kingdom, And in the United Kingdom, we don't have lower decks.
No.
Still
So
don't have
all of
it.
you
So
people that are watching it,
yeah.
stop
So
giving
do
us.
you know how hard it is to avoid like memes and
It's
things?
yeah. It's well. It's like one of the topics we're going to be talking about today. I had to avoid a spoiler about because
Yeah.
it is in lower decks.
So we want to talk about lower decks. We're really excited for
Yeah.
lower decks, but we can't because
Yeah.
you Americans won't give it to us.
So, but
Burn us
as
a
soon as they do,
copy.
we can do an episode on it. Yeah. We want to watch it legally, so we're waiting.
We do. We really do, and we can't. So if you are listening out there, please bring it over to the United Kingdom so we can watch it.
Give us lower decks.
Give it to us, yes. But anyway, so that was today's Trek news. All right then. So, welcome of course to episode 14, and today what are we talking about? Today is all about a very popular, definitely one of my favorite. About you, Dan, one of my favorite, definitely antagonist of Star Trek in the Star Trek universe, and that is the Q.
Yes, we're finally doing a Q episode. This is our Q episode.
Definitely. So we're looking at some memorable, we call it, was it Q-pisodes? You came up with that, didn't you? Q-pisodes.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Well, just Q-pisodes.
Q-pisodes.
Yeah.
Favorite Q appearances or moments in the franchise that we like. Who or what is Q? We're gonna try and put into words what we think Q is, or what it is, or basically, what is Q?
We're gonna try at least.
Try. You can't even put that into a question. It's like, well, I don't know. And then Q with Kirk or Q with Archer. We want to see as well if Q did appear in the series where he didn't actually obviously physically appear at all, and how he would interact with characters like Captain Kirk and of course Jonathan Archer. And then what we would do if we were Q, so omnipotent. I can never say that straight.
Yeah, she got it. That's it. Yeah.
So if we were omnipotent, if we were Qs, or we were, is that a plural for Qs? I don't know. QI, Qs? I don't know. I don't know. What would?
Question.
Yeah. Can you have a plural of Q? Is Q just a Q? Is it all? I don't know. It's blowing my mind. Anyway, what would we do? Or I don't know. Yeah, exactly. If we were, in a way, I'll get to that anyway. But yeah, it's blowing my mind already. We'll get to that. But anyway, so we're gonna start off now with the memorable Q-pisodes. So, do you want to start us off with this one?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's so many we could talk about.
There is
memorable ones. I think Encounter at Farpoint is where we first see him, isn't it?
That is the first one. Yes. Yeah.
So obviously that's probably, I don't know if that's the most famous one or the one where he flings the Enterprise into the Borg. I think maybe that would be a memorable one.
It's that Q Who, I think that's right.
Q Who, that's it. That's the one. So yeah, I mean, but for me personally, I love his Voyager appearances.
Yeah.
And for me, I think a memorable one for me is the one with his son.
Q2, I think.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which actually, I didn't realize this until last night when I was doing a little bit of sort of looking up on it. The boy who plays Q's son in Voyager is actually the actor's son.
Yeah. I knew about this actually. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know about it? Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. No, well, I think I read something ages ago, but yeah. I had But that is crazy though, isn't it? I mean, that is They actually got the actual Q's son.
Just have my son. Which is an interesting episode because obviously, as we know, Q, this sort of mischievous entity, annoying, gets in the way, but then sort of, I think in Voyager, he kind of calms down a little bit because, as we were saying yesterday, he kind of takes a bit of a fancy to Captain Janeway, and I think having a son, he kind of, you know, it's kind of like anything really. Like, you know, when you become a parent, you kind of calm down in attitude and nature, and it's kind of like watching. It's kind of like him trying to teach his son to be better.
Yeah.
Actually, there's the episode in not Enterprise, in TNG, where he has his powers taken off him.
Yes, yeah.
I think obviously having his power takes, you know, gives him a bit more responsibility, and it's just fun to see sort of like the fact that he has offspring, like seeing Q have children, or it's kind of like somebody you wouldn't expect to be a parent, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
I love that episode. It just explores, Q trying to teach, you know. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's kind of like it's really interesting. Sort of, we know Q as someone who's mischievous, bit of a, you know, if he was one of your friend circle, he's like the kind of the one that does the mad stuff, and like he's always the annoying one. He's kind of, but then he kind of becomes a dad and sort of a husband, because his wife's in that. Wife.
It's so this is Voyager now, because it's an episode called Q and the Grey.
Okay, so that's
Q and the Grey is where it's where we learn. I think it's the first time we learn about the civil war within the Q.
Right.
Civil War.
Yeah.
And he asks Janeway for a child, and Janeway obviously rejects. But then he ends up having a child with another Q, and then he asks Janeway, because Janeway becomes godmother.
Yes. Okay, fair enough. That's a different episode. So again, I mean, that's another memorable moment. But for me, the Q2 is a memorable episode, just because it's nice to see him sort of being a dad, and and it's got one of my favorite. It's not my favorite Q moment, but it's one of my favorite Q moments. Which when I first did my rewatch of Voyager, I couldn't stop laughing, and it's where his son sort of flings Voyager into the path of the Borg, and like makes the Borg and stuff. And then like you got the senior Q, as it were. He sort of says something like, "How many times have I got to tell you? Don't provoke the Borg." It's just really funny.
It kind of like that. No, it's like this whole like child sort of like this. It's kind of like it is. It's just gotta be influenced from the original series episode. You know, the one I always talk about with, you know, the original series cast are put down on this planet, and then there's like this alien who is literally playing with them like toys, and he turns out to be a child, and he's been told, and that's like an omnipotent alien species as well, isn't they? They are, and I always say that's gotta be based on that in some shape or form. Surely, you know, I salute to that. But well, for me, I you know, like I like what you said about, you know, the idea of Q teaching, and Q obviously, like I said, he's always this mischievous character, and he's always, you know, well, he's the antagonist as well, but then, you know, it's kind of like this I got this sort of like nice side to him as well, isn't it? You know, like I said, as a teacher, and obviously there as a father, and that reminds me of a Star Trek Next Generation episode called True Q, where there is a member of the team, I think it's Amanda, who actually turns out to be Q. If you remember that one. Do you remember that one? She turns out to be Q? True.
Vaguely.
Yeah, so she actually turns out to be a Q.
Oh, yeah.
And then, do you remember?
Yeah, cause I watched a little video yesterday of like different Q episodes just to remind me. Yeah, that one didn't come up. Yeah.
So obviously she ends up being, she is Q, and she doesn't know, because she's sent to Earth, isn't she? Because we have to remember as well, we'll get into a bit more detail now, but obviously the whole point of Q as well, because in the very first episode the first episode where we see Q anyway, he explains how humanity is on a trial, or Q is trialing humanity.
He puts God and humanity on trial.
Exactly, yeah. And it's there were times, obviously, where the Q actually sent their offspring into humanity. Well, I think Amanda is that example. And then Amanda, basically, Q then has to teach Amanda what she can do with her powers, and she do all sorts of things, as you can imagine, you know. And I know she has a choice between rescuing a planet. There's a planet in danger. Sorry, and I think it's like it's pollution or something. Something's happening on this planet, and she has the power to save it. But Q basically explains that she can't do that as Q. You can't do that as Q. And it was one thing that was quite interesting, because obviously with Q, they do have capital punishment, which is interesting, obviously, because they're meant to be more advanced than mankind. But then, you know, because I think there is definitely a quote somewhere. I'm sure Picard or someone said something about how mankind doesn't have capital punishment anymore. We've gone beyond that. We don't, you know. And then the Q still has it.
I think you're right. That's right.
Yeah. And then the Q still has, and I think Amanda actually goes against the Q then and rescues that planet, because she doesn't want them to die, because it was loads and like millions of people on that planet going to die, and she saves it. But then she basically sacrifices herself, because I think she goes back into trial, and she goes obviously back to the continuum. I can never say that, continuum.
Continuum.
And, and then and then she basically well, obviously they don't actually show it, but I guess the idea is obviously she basically says goodbye to all the Enterprise crew, and because then Q basically explains to her that, you know, you're going to put on trial and possibly you're going to be killed, hanged, or whatever, because you've gone against the Q rules or whatever, you know, because you can't do that, whether it's big or small. The problem is Q are not actually supposed to get in the way, because that's her humanity side that's telling her she has to save or, you know, rescue someone. So that's an interesting one as well, you know, and in a way, I'll kind of answer our question, I think, at the end when we get to that bit as well, you know. So yeah, I really like that one. True Q. I think, True Q. Yeah, awesome. I like
it's
that.
Nice to sort of see him, like, going from, like, when we first see him to your episode to my episode. He does change in a way. I guess.
Yeah.
Meeting Picard has changed him, and I guess meeting Q has changed Picard in a way. Would you agree with that? I think.
Yeah, I think the whole idea.
His nature.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, as I say, the whole idea, obviously, them trialing humanity, they obviously have to study humanity, and then they end up sort of like falling for humanity, or, you know what I mean? They sort of like adapt to humanity, and they sort of learn from humanity, even though these are supposed to be, you know, species that are way more advanced than us. They're meant to be gods in some shape. We'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I was trying to say, you know,
if you think about it, I guess if they are like gods, or like, I mean, you sort of look at Q and he can change his appearance, like in his and stuff. So I guess he can take any form he wants, but they choose the form of humans, or you know, what they see from, you know, the Enterprise crew. They choose that to, or he chooses that to be, you know. So yeah, it is interesting. But like I said, his nature, if you sort of think about his he's very much, he antagonizes all the captains really, but he's more antagonistic, I would say, in TNG. But then when you see him in Voyager, he's kind of, like I say, a little bit, you know, his journey is sort of, it's always interesting when Q's going to cut him up. And I think, you know, as you know, if I was a captain, sort of read up on Q, I would always be like aware, like he could show up at any minute. Do you know what I mean?
And literally at any moment, definitely. Because I mean, that episode where you said Q2, the sun, I really like how when Janeway first discovers him, I think she's in her bedroom, and he just appears, and then she calls for security, you know, to my quarters. And he's like, I won't even bother with that, you know, they're on a time loop, you know. And the fact that it's crazy, you know. And then obviously Q explains, like, Janeway, meet Q, your godson, because she is godmother, obviously, to him. And that's another thing as well. They actually, you know, the fact that he's got a mortal godparents as well, you know, that's quite interesting. It's kind of like an agreement between the two species of, you know, an omnipotent, you know, being with
Yeah.
you know, and they've made this
realms, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, but they've made this sort of not marital, but like, you know, this sort of like kind of like religious agreement with each other. This is a connection. Kind of reminds me of like, you know, like kings and queens, you know, obviously when they used to fight, obviously in wars, and the ways of obviously making peace and or making, I guess, well, making friends based, or building an empire would obviously be through marriages, wouldn't it? People would marry each other, and that's what would connect the royal families, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of that sort of thing, really. You know, they not married together, but like they got this bond together because she is accepted to be a godmother of a Q, you know. And I think he calls her Aunt Kathy and stuff, you know.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
One Voyager episode I just want to touch on as well is I don't think it is Q2. I will admit I don't know what the episode's called, but it's the one where he gets like people from time, and one of the people is Commander Riker. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Like I think it's in like the Voyager sort of discussion room or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Like Janeway is there, and it's like I can't remember the other two people, but it's like characters from time, and then there's just Commander Riker just going, "What am I doing here?" It's like the fact that he can pull Commander Riker, who's somewhere in the Alpha Quadrant, all the way into
Yeah.
So I just think that's funny. It's just things like that. It's just quite funny. You can do things like that. And just,
well, it does play on that though, because like we were talking about, you know, the Q as the ability to literally transfer, you know, Voyager back to Earth in like a second. But you know, he sort of offers that. I remember, but then he offers up. But then, in order to have that, she has to agree to marry him. I remember, and then obviously she doesn't want to do that, and she basically said, "We don't want your help," because he could do it literally in a blink of
you could
a
do
second.
it like that, yeah.
Easy. But she, again, that sort of questions on, I guess, you know, whether or not you want to rely on that, or I guess you know you can't trust Q. I think is the message there as well, isn't it? You know, it's kind of like playing. I mean, I'm getting into like kind of a religious way of looking at it, kind of like playing with the devil sort of thing, isn't it? You know, like
yeah.
You know,
it's like kind of like selling your soul, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is like
so nobody does anything for free. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely.
Because I mean, going off topic, there is that episode where the Voyager. This is going back onto our Voyager one now, but where Kes doesn't sort of fling them back to the Alpha Quadrant, but she doesn't. She gives them the ability to go like
yeah. She gives them
just
a good push. Yeah,
out of the kindness of her heart, doesn't she?
Yeah.
But like he wouldn't do that.
No, he'd want something in return.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was,
Which
I guess, her hand in marriage, wasn't it? Yeah.
Which says something about Janeway, because again, it's kind of like the whole women thing. And Janeway is like, I don't need no man to help me get home.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that does say something about Janeway.
Well, can you imagine though? You'd be stuck with him for the rest of your life, literally. Like, it's, you know, with Q. You can imagine being with Q forever.
Yeah, but isn't there, because there's that character. I'm going to say her name wrong, but
okay, go.
She's. I think it's something like Vaj or something like that. It's, you know, the lady that he runs off with into the Gamma Quadrant in TNG, but then they turn up in DS9, the DS9 Q episode.
Okay.
You know, is it Vaj? Not Vaj. I don't know. But you know what? You know the one I mean. No,
I think so. I don't know. It's just I've gone blank.
You know the DS9 episode that Q's in.
Yeah.
Well, he there's that lady, isn't it?
Yes.
Because that's basically a continuation of a TNG episode. Because at the end of the TNG episode, they run away to the Gamma Quadrant.
Yes.
To like do stuff and why not, you know?
Yeah,
go and, I guess, rob and steal and thieve and stuff.
Then
they turn up in DS9, because DS9 is obviously the gateway to the Gamma Quadrant. So
no, it is coming back. Yes, yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, that lady, I can't remember her name. I'm pretty sure it's something like Vaj or something like that. I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong. So it's quite interesting that she chooses to sort of become like a business partner with Q, I guess. Not
Yeah,
in
actually, yeah.
not in a sort of marriage type way or sort of relationship type way. It's just.
I'm remembering now. It is coming now. Yeah. When you're saying it, yeah.
I guess kind of like Q does have the ability to sort of, he can, if he wants to use his powers to steal stuff and rob riches, which is what the lady wants to do. It's kind of like why you could choose Q to go and do that with. But again, you can't trust him. He could get you into a lot of trouble, really.
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah.
What I love as well, Q in a way is become, especially with that generation of Star Trek, it's like he's the glue, isn't he, to them all? He kind of like a Jeffrey Combs sort of thing, I guess, where he, but then he actually physically moves between. I think there's only one DS9, isn't it? Q. I think it's
Yeah. Which is a bit of a shame because they did it early on I think they did it in the first. And it basically is, like I said, a continuation of a TNG episode, and like how Cisco reacts with Q would have been interesting to explore. Further on, because obviously Cisco punches him, and it's that famous moment of "You punched me." Picard never punched me.
Yeah.
Which is a great Q one-liner, and that's the other thing about Q. He has a lot of one-liners.
No, definitely.
So
it would have been interesting how the Q would have got involved with the Dominion War as well. Like I would have liked that. Like how he would have got involved with the Dominion and I don't know, would he have known more about the Breen and stuff that could have helped the Federation at the time, and all that. So no, definitely and also just Q himself, just the character, it's just brilliant. The way it's just portrayed, the way it's just brilliant. It's just perfect. It's what it needs to be,
It's quite a unique sort of antagonist, really, because obviously you've got the classic sort of, the Borg, the Vulcans and Klingons, but then to have like a character that basically is, omnipotent and can just show up at any moment and just annoy you, and like he can put you in a lot of danger, but then also sort of transfer you from one quadrant to the other, and he kind of just turns up on the bridge and sort of, oh, here we go, it's a Q episode. You know what I mean?
No, definitely.
And so like the concept is just to have that, and the fact that it sort of did go through TNG and then DS9 and Voyager, it is kind of nice that it crossed over. It wasn't just TNG, it was nice that it crossed over.
No, definitely. I agree with that. Yeah, it's it's just nice how, like I said, it's kind of like a in a way like a glue, or like a just gives it more.
It's just interesting, like
more fluid.
His relationship with Picard, and it's like, oh, how is he going to react with Cisco, and how is he going to react with Janeway, and which kind of leads us on to one of our points. I can't remember which order now. Which is it would have been interesting to see how he would have reacted with Jonathan Archer.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Or Kirk.
Well, let's do that now. Actually, I think let's do that, and then we'll go into what we think Q is actually. I think then, because I think we're getting into that as well. But I think let's focus on what he would have done with Archer and Captain Kirk. Now, for me, I just want to say, with Captain Kirk, I think. Kirk has sort of experienced these omnipotent aliens before as well, as I said about the one episode, obviously, with the childlike alien on that planet, and also as well you have the I always get what they're called, the Organians. The Organians, of course, were the alien species that were again omnipotent. So I read a lovely definition, didn't I, on my Star Trek Encyclopedia book, and it basically explained that they're a very advanced species that actually left their bodies or their their mortal selves, and they evolved into these omnipotent sort of Q-like sort of things. I was explaining it. But I read here because I just typed in randomly on Google. I went Organians versus Q. And so I just wrote up, Organians hated violence and had a policy of non-interference, whereas Q had a civil war. The Q enjoyed studying and toying with humans, whereas the Q, especially Q himself, enjoyed this. One could argue that it is, in this respect, the Organians were more evolved. Okay, that's interesting. So I don't know
So
who's typed that out.
Would you say
They're
from
more
the same sort of continuum then, or is it like a different?
No, I think it's just a different thing. It's just they're similar, aren't they? It's a similar sort of. I mean, again, like there's someone else. I like going on things like Reddit and reading what like fans talk about in that and all that. Like, I don't really comment on it, but I like to just read.
It's interesting to read, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought this. Well, there's someone on here as well. So I am having a look as we're talking. If I'm really bad at multitasking, as you know, and and someone is actually. Someone here is saying it seems that most people seem to think Q are more powerful than Organians, and without giving it much thought, I used to agree. And this person, I think, is basically trying to explain how they're more powerful. And then there's other people talking about they're linking other species, like the Traveler, and how because the Traveler that's Wesley Crusher goes with.
Oh yeah, of course,
and
yes.
I thought of him like quite an omnipotent sort of character as well, possibly is, and you know what I mean. So and again, someone's linking them, the Travelers, to that sort of category of. It's.
I mean, I reckon you. I mean, in future Star Trek, there's nothing to say that you can't put them all in the same continuum and just have them as different versions of.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of something in Stargate. In Stargate, right, you've got these aliens called the Ancients and aliens called the Ori. And basically it's that it's kind of like the Q continuum. It's kind of like they're like these godlike people.
Uh-huh.
But like they split it. They were called the Alterans. Basically it was kind of like a religious sect type thing, and they split into two. One was the Ancients, who were the good guys, and used their powers for good and sort of exploring other planets and things, and wanted to share their technology. But with the Ori, which becomes the focus of season 9 and 10 of SG-1, the Ori kind of used their powers not necessarily for bad or evil, but they were like, you must bow down to us. We are the gods. We're not going to share anything with you. You must worship us. And it's kind of like they were sinister. And it's kind of like two different. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
From the same continuum or realm, but the kind of split. So there's nothing to say that, with the Q that we know is more antagonistic, but then you've got the Traveler, and it's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm
trying to say? I 100% see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, because that person's saying that they're more evolved, and I guess in some ways they are, because they're the ones. Because I remember they go onto a planet, the Klingons and the Federation. They're fighting over this planet, whether they should join the Empire or the Federation.
Yeah.
And I remember they basically explained that actually we're more advanced than both of you. You're actually, you're nothing to us, and we're actually quite godly. But we've gone beyond violence. Where you have the Q then, and the Q actually have not gone beyond violence at all. The Q are very, even though they think they have the right to trial humanity, they also have civil war and executions. So it's interesting. But anyway, again, back to the point, is that Captain Kirk, I'm trying to say, has experienced these sorts of beings before. He hasn't actually come across Q himself as in that character we know
Q that
as
we know.
Q. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, and yeah, interested to see how he would, react with Q. I can imagine Kirk getting kind of like Picard, but I imagine Q being a lot more angrier. Actually, I don't know. I imagine Q. No, sorry, but I imagine Kirk being a lot more angry at Q. I can imagine Kirk really losing his temper quite easily. I really do. Kind of like, I guess it'd be kind of like a rivalry. It kind of is. I guess Picard and Q is kind of like the rivalry between Kirk and Khan in a way, isn't it? Is that sort of?
Oh yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, I guess. I mean, obviously you have the Borg, but then I guess the Borg basically became the new Klingon, really, when you think about it. The Borg became the new Klingon, and because apparently, the reason they brought in the Borg as well because Gene Roddenberry wanted a new alien species. That's what he really wanted after the original series.
Right.
And the fact as well, Q actually introduces the Borg, doesn't he? He actually takes them
exactly.
to the Delta Quadrant. Oh, this is the Borg. You're gonna hate these.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, but even like the Q fear the Borg because, like I said to you earlier, with that line, "Don't provoke the Borg." Even Q knows that you shouldn't. Mess with the Borg. I mean, so
yeah. No, it is. But I think it'd be kind of like that relationship between Khan and Kirk, and it would be like sort of Khan, Kirk, and Q or whatever. Q. It would be that sort of thing. I think with them two, definitely. And I think Khan shows that what it'd be like.
I think moving on from that, I think with Archer, would also be even more angrier. I think.
Yeah, actually, Archer used to lose his temper quite a lot, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, but I think that's more because of the situation Archer always finds himself in. Because Archer's like the beginning, he's kind of in a lot more danger and sort of he's in a lot more of the unknown, especially with the Xindi storyline and sort of the Expanse and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been interesting to sort of see how that could have like not now Q, I'm trying to
but then I imagine Archer would actually maybe try and make a deal with Q.
Yeah.
Because
so I mean, kind of
Janeway knows the knowledge of Q. There's already been studies in it because obviously Picard found Q basically, and obviously from then Starfleet have been talking about it. Be careful of Q, right? So she has in her head like I need to be careful of Q. We know the history of Q. We know what he's like. Archer wouldn't have. Archer would have been like, well, if you can do this, can you get rid of the Xindi? Can you transport them somewhere else or whatever?
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, I mean, I think if it was Archer in Janeway's shoes, he would have been like, yeah, take us back to the Alpha Quadrant. I'll marry you.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Because he does. Archer does. He does get that warp coil from that ship, doesn't he? Even though so Archer do stuff like that.
No, cool. That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I think they come across that because their warp coil or core is finished, isn't it? So they need to get one because they're lost in the Expanse. So he basically strands another ship and crew, and he basically steals their warp coil and leaves them for stranded. And Archer lives. I mean, we talked about that in podcasts, but yeah, you're right. I think Archer would make a deal with Q, but he would still be just as angry. I think. Especially to start off with.
Yeah.
And you would have the crew of the Enterprise, like they did with the warp coil thing. You can't do this, Archer. This is wrong. You shouldn't do this. But obviously, I love Archer.
Well, I guess the Enterprise seal was sort of playing with the Prime Directive a lot more, wasn't it? Because it was a new thing, wasn't it? It really was. I mean, even though Kirk broke it all the time, I mean, it was the idea of, I guess, I mean, he made it really, didn't he? The whole Prime Directive. He is, he was sort of the guy who, he makes the speech, obviously, to create the Federation, isn't it, and stuff. And be nice to have a series on that. I think just after Archer makes a speech and I don't know, just like the first, like the really early days of the Federation. It's like it is.
Yeah, because because obviously Discovery is in between the original series and Enterprise, isn't it? But even then, the Federation is existing.
Exactly.
I was going to say something, but yeah, so it would have been interesting to see, because I kind of think, you know how like in Enterprise you've got the Ferengi episode, and everybody was like, oh, you know, why are you doing a Ferengi episode? You know, we first meet the Ferengi in TNG, but actually they don't mention who they are in Enterprise, so you could get away with that. It would have been interesting if they could have done that with Q, you know, like not having mentioned who he is, but still have Q in there. That would have been interesting. I think they could have done that. It's kind of like the Borg, well, because the Borg are in Enterprise, but they don't know they are the Borg.
No, of course, yeah.
It was never logged or anything.
No.
So you could get away with a Borg episode, even though. So I think if they'd have been like, well, let's not have him say his name or who he is, just turn up and annoy Archer or whatever. I think they could have done that, but you know, it would have been interesting to see anyway.
I mean, they could have literally had anything. They could have had a lovely moment when the Q literally just walks past, you know, anything, and the fans would have known. And it wouldn't have even had no effect on any storyline. It would literally just been him walking past, or even doing something really small that has effect on what happens. That affects it. You know what I mean? Like,
just turn up a bit. Hello, I'm Q.
Yeah.
And just wandering off again. It's interesting you say about like having a series in itself. What about like a series, a Q based on Q, a series based on Q? That would be. Don't call it Star Trek, just a series on Q. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. I see what you mean. Yeah.
And, you know, maybe have the actor reprise his role, or his son come back. Do you know what I mean? Just to sort of.
Yeah.
That would be interesting, because
that would be interesting. Yeah.
You could explore his origins, or the Continuum's origins. So that would be, wouldn't it? Like, what would it be like?
Yeah. I guess that goes on to our point, though, is who is or what is Q? And
yes,
I think we've sort of tried to answer it a few times. It's the idea that he's this sort of godlike creature, really, isn't he? He's he's, like I said, omnipotent. He's this he could be anything.
He could, yeah.
You know, exactly. I think I like the idea of it being like he's not third dimensional. He's like past fourth dimensional. You know, fourth dimensional being, he travels through time, but like, well, as in he literally moves around through time, and you know, and I mean, as third dimensional beings, we travel through the third dimension. Obviously, we travel through space, and obviously then time, you know, ages us. That's how we travel through time. But for him, he can literally be anywhere. And I'm not an expert at this, by the way, but you know, it's the idea that he is, you know, beyond third dimension. I'm trying to say, you know, he is this.
Yeah, he's all of them, I guess, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
He can go from, I like your thing about like the fluidity of it all. He can go from one.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. I like the idea that he can be in, you know, like 3 places at the same time and stuff. And
it's interesting you should say that, actually, because I've actually got. I'll get it down. Actually, I'll show you. I've actually got. If I can get it, I actually met the actor. And I've got his autograph. Cool. That's his autograph there.
That's cool.
So for anybody who's watching, you can see that I've got the autograph. Anybody listening on Spotify or wherever, I'm showing a picture of Q, and I met him at a convention. And it's interesting because we talk about where he is. When I was putting my little, for anybody that don't know, I've got quite a few sort of pictures of different Star Trek stuff and different autographs from actors that I've met, Star Trek wise. You know what I'm on about because I've sent you pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of tried to make it so it's like, because I've got like William Shatner and Spock, so I've got my like original series section. Then I've got Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, and Brent Spiner, who is Data. So I've got my TNG section. Then I've got Avery Brooks and Julian Bashir, so I've got a DS9 section. And then I've got Voyager, so I've got Catherine Janeway, the Doctor, and Neelix. So I've got my Voyager section. But then I've also got Q. And then I was kind of thinking, well, where do I put Q? But then it was, it was like, where do I put Q? So then I ended up just putting him next to Picard. So anyway, I do have a point here. I am getting somewhere. So my brother-in-law, Ben, hi Ben, is also a Star Trek fan. And when he visited us once, I was showing him my pictures. And I said, so I basically explained what I just explained there. And I was like, well, I didn't know where to put Q. And he just said, well, Q can go anywhere he likes. And that, I was like, yeah, you're right. Q can go anywhere he likes. And that, if you think about that, it's true, isn't it? He can
just imagine that you move him around every day. Like he appears like in your bathroom and he
just dotted around my house. Like,
it's just,
I think that's what would happen if me and you lived together.
It's like
Q's in the oven today. Yeah. But, so I quite liked that idea of the fact that Q can just go anywhere he likes, really.
Yeah. No,
so
definitely. Yeah. No, definitely.
I quite like that. Yeah. So yes, he's a very nice guy.
Is he actually nice in real life? I've never met him in real life.
It's been ages since I met him. So
yeah.
I was a lot younger when I met him, but yeah, I got his autograph. There we go. The actor's also in Stargate as well. He's a prominent actor in Stargate. He plays the leader of one of the leaders of the NID.
Okay.
And he's also, for any Breaking Bad fans out there as well, if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, he's also in Breaking Bad. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Do you know that's the only one I never actually, and that's like the big one, isn't it? I mean, the one I got into, because remember that there was a time when there were certain series that everyone was watching. It was Walking Dead, it was Breaking Bad, and I think it was Game of Thrones. I watched Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. I didn't actually watch Breaking Bad. That was the one.
I'm different. I've only watched Breaking Bad, and I haven't watched The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones.
I only got to season 5 of The Walking Dead, to be honest, and then I just got a bit bored. But Game of Thrones was great, and the last season was. I know it's not a Game of Thrones podcast, but personally, I thought, what did they do? They just chucked it away. Like, it was really annoying after like 8 series of like commitment, of watching, and then thanks for that.
I kind of do want to watch it just because it's got Emilia Clarke in it, and
it is great. Like it really is. Like it is. I mean, the few series are fantastic. I mean, like the way it's filmed. Like if you do like a bit of fantasy, sort of, like medieval, or I mean, like knights and stuff, it's great for that. Like I highly recommend it. But it was just the last season. I don't know what happened, but they literally like gave up on it or something, and it was like they're all there. It was like rushed.
Right. Okay.
Because I do highly recommend watching it, but maybe just like you have to watch the last one just with a pinch of salt and be like, what did you do that for? Or maybe it could have been more the fact that I literally like watched it for like the past like 7 years, because I watched it since I was in uni. So for me, I always followed the Game of Thrones, and then literally the last hurdle, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a good one." And it's like, "What have you done?" It was really disappointing. But anyway, that's Game of Thrones.
So going back to this is
let's go back to like science fiction and Star Trek now.
So the idea of like Q being anywhere he likes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He could be in Game of Thrones if he wants to be.
He can turn up in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that'd be a better ending, to be honest. Literally, he can be, like you said, anywhere. I mean, it'd be interesting if they could introduce him into Discovery, maybe. I mean, there could be a way of doing that.
Yeah, this
Discovery
is it. Or maybe they could do the Enterprise idea in Discovery.
Yeah, well, Discovery actually, I mean, the next season now coming out, they're in the future, aren't they? They're going as far in the future as we've ever been, which is exciting. So we've always talked about going forward, haven't we?
Isn't that should be out soon in the next couple of days?
I think so, yeah. I can't. Let's see if I can get a date, because I actually really want to know now.
I've started following Star Trek on Instagram, and they posted a sneak peek of the new season. So
that's cool.
If you watch that, go and watch that.
Well, actually, yeah. Okay, Star Trek Discovery is coming to a galaxy light years from you, but at least you'll be able to watch on CBS. in October 2020, I think.
Yeah, which is now.
Which is now, yeah. It hasn't given me an actual.
Is it? I don't know. Who even knows with the virus where we are?
Also, talking about Q as well. I don't want to cause any spoilers for me or you in this, because if it's going to spoil it for anyone, it's going to be us and any other Brit as well. If any Brit are listening, maybe don't listen to this. But I did actually find on accident, looking at Wikipedia, of looking at just Q episodes, and I just find that he is in Lower Decks.
Yeah, so I said to you yesterday, didn't I? This is what I was on about earlier. I was scrolling through and I was like, oh, damn. I basically spoiled Lower Decks, because there is a Q episode in Lower Decks, as you so.
And we can't talk about that, so yeah.
No, because we haven't seen it. But that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to talk about, is that you can't not have a Q episode. I think Star Trek needs a Q episode.
Yeah.
So him turning up in Discovery might be interesting.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Moved.
And there's an animation as well. That's just interesting, the fact that it'll be an animation.
Yeah. I wonder if it's voiced by him, by John Delancey.
Oh, I want to know now.
I want to know. I want to know. I want to, because if you think about it, yeah, he can voice, or his son, maybe. I don't know. There we are.
I wonder if he will, because it's a comedy as well. It's basically like a Rick and Morty sort of thing, isn't it? I mean, the new Lower Deck. I wonder if he will comment on the fact that it's an animation as well. Because he can, the Q could probably get away with that as well, saying oh, it's weird being, in a cartoon or whatever. I wonder if he'll break that fourth wall.
Right. What if, this is going to be a head trip now, what if Q made the whole Star Trek universe into animation? If it was Q's fault?
Yeah, and that explains,
Oh, I'm suddenly animated. Why am I animated? Oh,
it's interesting you say that, actually, because I came across a random article. I only read a little bit of it, and it was someone basically. I mean, I always saw the animated series as canon anyway. I always have, but it's basically explaining how apparently Lower Decks has basically, how Lower Decks has basically made the animated series canon. So I wonder if it's anything that they've done to. I don't know. I don't know.
I love the animated series, the original.
Yeah, it's definitely canon to me. Definitely canon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I love using, because when me and Dan we go on Star Trek Facebook groups. I love. I have a picture of the animated version of Admiral April. I always bring him up when.
Yeah, that's your thing, isn't it?
when people call Pike the first captain, I'm like, boom, always chucking him around. I just have him there ready and waiting.
Yeah.
Go on, call Pike the first captain one more time. I'll show you.
Yeah. Oh dear.
God, we got a life, man. So what is Q? Q can be anything. Q is everything and more.
He's all around us. He is all around.
Yeah. It is basically a description of, I guess, of God, isn't it, or anything like that idea of he's he could, because
somewhere on some planet, if you think about it, he is probably worshipped. They probably do worship him as a god, sort of, in our society, kind of we've got different. Without
kind
getting too.
It reminds me now. I don't know why I thought. Have you ever? Obviously, you would have seen this episode. I'm sure you have of Farscape. I'm sure you must have seen this one.
What?
I'm just a Farscape. I'm just going to say, have you come across the shipbuilder? With Zan talks to him.
Oh right, so okay.
He's called the shipbuilder. That's what I'm saying.
Because for me, Zan's gone now, I think.
Okay, no, that's good. That means you have definitely seen it.
I don't want to ask because I don't know if she comes back.
Okay, no. I think you must have seen this one. It's called the ship. He's called the shipbuilder.
Yeah,
he had a Welsh accent. It made me laugh. I don't know why he had a Welsh accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking. Yes, I remember.
He was basically Welsh Q.
Yeah. I remember watching it going, I remember watching it and going, is that a Welsh accent? Because obviously in Farscape, it's mainly Australian. And
it's just why is a Welshman building ships? But anyway, he's like an omnipotent sort of character, isn't he? He kind of like Q, like in a way, and he's something to do with building the what kind of ships are they called now? Moya. She's a
Leviathan.
the fire. Yeah, he builds them, doesn't he? That's what he does.
Yeah.
Because he talks about because I think she tries to put Moya down, doesn't he? Because he's saying like the fact that she gave birth to basically a weapon. It's not good and stuff, and obviously Zan has to like talk to him, but yeah, it's the fact that it makes me laugh how he's Welsh and it's funny. But he reminds me of Q. Is that sort of thing. But also talking about Farscape, you also have that other character, don't you? Basically like Q in a way. What's his name? It's towards the start of the series, and Jonathan Archer encounters him, and he ends up.
Are we talking about Farscape now or Enterprise?
Farscape. Jonathan Archer. They both called Jonathan. They're both called Jonathan. Jonathan Crichton. Sorry, Jonathan Crichton. If you are listening out there, Jonathan.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah. So I was going to call him Crichton. So, but then the problem is they call him Crichton. I don't think I'm talking about Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf, yeah. Yeah. Go on.
There's so Crichton encounters this weird character. I can't remember his name, and he's like he's kind of Q-ish in a way, and he puts him in that weird dream world, and do you not remember?
It makes him think he's back home. Is that the one where
they're kind of Q-ish as well, actually. So,
they're Q-ish as well.
Yeah. I know they're like the ancients or something they called, aren't they? Yeah, I know you're. Yeah. Because they're basically like Q as well. There's a lot of like Q. Actually, thinking about Farscape is full of like Q sort of things in it, in a way. That's probably why it gets away of being so weird. I guess if Q watched a TV show, he probably would enjoy Farscape.
He would love Farscape. I moving on slightly. I quite like what you said yesterday. It's kind of like I'll let you expand on it because it was your thing. But I quite like what you said yesterday about Q, as we know in Star Trek, being kind of like the Master in Doctor Who.
Yeah. I think it's I don't know. It's just hard to explain. It's like this. I think it's just this powerful, in a way, omnipotent or this. Because obviously the Master's a Time Lord, isn't he? He's basically the dark version of Doctor Who. That's basically
it's kind of like the nemesis, I guess.
Yeah. In a way, again, it's kind of like this. Kirk and Khan and Picard and Q. It's that sort of element to it as well. But I just think it's this. It's hard to explain, but for some reason, when I think of Q, I also do think of the Master. I think it happened when someone posted online. They said basically, who would win the fight, Q or the Master? And at first, I was like, why are you comparing them to? And I was like, well, actually, I do sort of see it in a way, like them sort of. Because obviously Time Lords are meant to be, they look out for the universe, isn't it? They're meant to protect the universe. And I always think of this, again, I keep thinking of memes now. There's another meme as well where there's different sci-fi franchises and they're like, I think it's Star Wars saying, we stick up for the galaxy. Star Trek, we stick up for whatever, we stick up for the Federation. And then it goes to like David Tennant as the Doctor. He goes, that's cute. I defend the universe or something like that. It's the idea he's meant to be this like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the Master has that as well, obviously being a Time Lord and obviously being an antagonist. And yeah, that sort of reminds me of the Q. It's hard to explain, but it works. You just say the Master and the Q. It just goes, oh yeah, I see. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, yeah. It just seems to work.
And are they all called Q? Because I guess there is more than one Q. But they're all just called Q.
They're all just called Q, yeah. Even his son's called Q. Because I think in that episode as well, Q2, he just goes, Janeway, meet my son, your godson, sorry. And goes, meet Q. So, yeah.
That's funny. Because if you think about it, it's like, yeah, well, they're just all called Q. Like, how many Qs are there in the continuum?
Yeah,
that's interesting to think about.
And obviously, I said they had civil war. The fact that So in a way, they obviously do have, I don't know, like again, like the whole idea of humanity and stuff. And like I said, humanity in a way, because obviously humanity's on trial, as we said, because the Q put them on trial, but they learn things off humanity. But also in a way, humanity, I don't know, would you say humanity in a way is kind of like a virus to them? The fact that they sort of like, I don't know, like in affects them in some way, or like makes like for instance, the idea that they have like civil war and things. I mean, I guess, is that a form of humanity? You know what I mean? The idea of having, like, surely, like I said, they like, well, that makes the other race more evolved than them. The fact that they're, these godlike things, but then they have conflict like that, like, like surely the Q does not need to have civil war, but
No, yeah.
does.
Well, exactly, being omnipotent. Yeah, exactly. Or
And is that from watching humanity and learning off humanity?
yeah, and
you
that's
know
why they put humanity on trial, because it's like, it's
yeah,
because of you. You know what I mean?
it's oh, it's blows my mind.
Yeah. It's kind of like, yeah, humanity's had a negative impact on the continuum, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So should we get to our last point as well? I mean, this is going to be a hard one, I think, to answer, or an interesting one to answer. Is if you was Q, or a Q, or part of Q, whatever, I don't, what would you do? What would Q do?
Yeah, exactly. If we were Q, or like, if I was the actual Q, I would love to like just go and do more. Either go and sort of interact with Archer, or like do more stuff with Cisco.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was omnipotent, I don't know. I think, I mean, I don't think I would be bad, like evil or anything. I'd quite like. I don't know. It's what I was thinking about this, because I guess in the way that Q has the ability to, or being omnipotent, he has the ability to fling, the Enterprise into the Gamma Quadrant. He could take Voyager home. Could he also get rid of stuff? Because could he get rid of viruses? So say, for instance, like, could he get rid of, the current coronavirus?
Yeah.
Or like, could he make cancer go away? Or like, could he? Do you know, stuff like that?
I guess that question, though, with that that one episode I was talking about, would you be allowed to as Q? Did that go against Q? You know what I mean? You allowed to do that, though. It's in a way, it's like Q is like a god, but in a way, he's not really allowed to play God. It's a weird one. It's
I think for me personally, like, I sort of go in at the moment. I would love to like just stop time. And, I would have the ability to stop time. So sort of say, for instance, if I went out shopping, I could stop time, and I would have to like, because obviously we live in a world where now we have to like sort of social distance. I mean, I always social distance, and I always wear my mask, but it's kind of like, if I could stop time, I have the freedom just to not be, because having to social distance and wear a mask, it does give me anxiety. I will. The COVID does scare me. So if I could stop time and just, not, I would that also stop COVID? I don't know, but sort of I could just go and get my stuff and not worry about it, and then, you know what I mean? I would love to stop time.
I've always got this, because stopping time always puts me back to my childhood and watching Bernard's Watch. I always like, you watch Bernard's? Do you watch Bernard's Watch?
I probably not as much as you. I think I probably would have come across it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was on CITV, and it was a kid who
had a CBBC. Mine was the CBBC generation.
Oh, as you know, and he had a pocket watch. He could stop time.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
Yeah,
it rings a bell. It kind of makes me think of the Queen's Nose, though. And
I thought of the Queen's Nose then. That's when you said that. I don't know why you said CBBC. I watched both. Like, I actually did watch the Queen's Nose as well. Yeah. I remember the Queen's Nose. That was a good.
I liked the Queen's Nose. I like the theme tune.
There was a lot of good like children's dramas back then. Like,
it's weird because the other day I was around my sister's. Well, before. No, I say the other day. It was before Kipperly went into a lockdown. But I was around my sisters, and my nephew was watching something on Cartoon Network. And for me, I remember Cartoon Network being sort of Dexter's Lab, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Scooby-Doo and all that. And then, but he was watching this. He was so transfixed on this program. It was about vegetables, and it was called something like Ollie the Onion or something like that, or like I don't know. I can't remember. Basically, the main character is a spring onion. You know what a spring onion is?
Yeah, I know what spring onion is. Yeah.
I can't remember what my point was now, but yeah. So it's just mad that I can't remember what my point was going to be.
How things have changed, maybe.
How things have changed. Yeah. So there was a lot of good. There was a lot of good, CBBC, CITV shows.
Yeah. I came across the theme the other day to a show I used to watch when I was in school called Ace Lightning. I don't know if you ever came across that.
That rings a bell. I don't.
Yeah, it was about a kid. No, it's weird. It was about a kid from London, or the UK anyway, and he moves from the UK and he moves to an American school. I think it's America he's in, or Canada, one of the two, and he has to adapt obviously to like the new school, and the idea goes onto a school bus and all that, and he's not used to that and things, and haven't got to wear uniform. And then he ends up playing a game called Ace Lightning, and he's obsessed with the game. But then the game becomes real.
I remember it. Yes.
It was a weird mix of but it was I think it was weird because he was English, but then they were all Americans, and
it is coming back to me now. I can vaguely pick. Yeah.
Because the theme was like, "There's a hero, there's a hero." No, something like that. I remember. Yeah.
One of my favourites was Ozzy and Drix. Do you remember Ozzy and Drix?
No, I don't remember.
That was Cartoon Network. It was basically like this kid, but like it took place inside the kid, and it was like one was like a tablet, like a like a drug, like a.
Yeah. No. Now you're saying this,
One was like a germ or like a cell.
Right. No, I can. I
don't think inside of his.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't think I ever really, was into it, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Though I think
that's a good theme tune as well.
Yeah.
Ozzy and Drix. There we go.
I used to like Angry Beavers as well, and Real Monsters. Nickelodeon I was a lot of as well. Cat Dog I used to love.
I know that you like Cat Dog. Yeah.
But yeah, for me, what would I do?
So what would you do if you were on?
I guess, I mean, this actually, this ain't going off topic. This is staying on topic now, because I'm going to explain why we're talking about our childhood programs, because I guess if I could travel back through time, I would go back in time and watch these programs again, wouldn't I, if I wanted to?
Yes.
There we are. You could be anywhere, yeah.
Yeah. I'd just go back watch old childhood films.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, what I mean is you can go back to a time, like, the fact that you can travel through time, I mean, what's stopping you going back to a time when you were really happy or something, isn't there? Or
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Or if there was a particular, day that you enjoyed,
Exactly. I mean, we could go back to college or something, or anything like that. It's crazy.
I was about to say, remember my 19th birthday party night?
I'm trying to think now. I mean, that was a long time ago now.
Remember when all I'm going to say is chat roulette.
Okay, yeah.
I'd love to do that again. That was a brilliant night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, because Jordan came with us, didn't he? That was...
Yeah. Hi, Jordan.
Yeah, hi, Jordan. He was...
But it's stuff like that.
No, I know what you mean, yeah. Go back in time and just experience or I guess, I don't know, like you have times where I mean, they always say like how memory changes as well. Like I did a little bit of reading on the idea of memory. I think it was some kind of theatre project or something I was doing, and I was understanding things to do with memory. I think it was to do with verbatim theatre, like documentary theatre, that sort of stuff, and it was talking about how memory does actually alter as you get older, as in like the way you remember something that happened actually would have slightly changed. Like, for instance, they reckon people who experience, I don't want to go into a really dark topic now. I do apologize for bringing anything up for any of our listeners, but but one of an example I've got is actually 9/11. and looking at people who experienced 9/11 and how when they retold the story after like 10 years or so, how their story like slightly changes, how they remember it. And they reckon it's to do with just how your mind works and the brain works. It basically alters memory, so things are not exactly the way you remember it, if that makes sense. And they reckon though they've interviewed people straight after the event, and they've given them all this detail, obviously, and then they've interviewed the same people then years after, and then it's like things that, well, hang on, actually, this actually contradicts what they said last time, like years ago. And it's not them lying or anything. It's just that's how memory works, or how
that's
things.
Fascinating.
I guess in a way, though, when you think about it, do you ever like watch like an old program for like, you know, to like nostalgia and things, and you kind of go, oh, I don't remember it being like this, or like things are not is, you know what I mean, or like something slightly different. Like, oh, I can't remember it. You know what I mean? Or characters sounding different.
I know what you mean. It's kind of like,
yeah.
Have you ever heard of a phenomenon called the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is interesting.
Yeah.
It's I guess that's kind of another way of looking at it. It's just how memory sort of, you know, it's just, I guess, old age, or, you know, just getting older, or just time passes and how memory just changes. But I guess when you think about it, your brain has to take things out now and then, or put things in, or whatever. Your brain's obviously constantly working, and that's probably a way of it doing it, isn't it? In storing things. But yeah, they reckon these people they came out with the stories that they told 10 years ago, and it's not necessarily completely different, but there's things that are like, well, hang on now, they didn't say that before, or, you know, that didn't say it like that before, or, you know, it's things have changed and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, well, if we could travel back in time, it'd be interesting. That'd be a great way of seeing things, wouldn't it? You know, you know, and how things actually were like, or I think it's kind of like, as well, in a happier way of looking at things as well. Let's just say it's better. Like, this is a better, happier example now. You go on holiday. Do you ever sometimes you go on holiday, but actually you found that I don't know, sometimes you enjoy the holiday after the holiday, if that makes sense, looking back on the pictures, like, as in going, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that sort of thing. Like, you're having a good time, but sometimes when you look back on it after a holiday, like a week after, wow, that was a brilliant holiday. Where at the time, you necessarily didn't think like that. I don't know, does that make sense? Like, it's normally the experience after and reflecting on it. Actually, it was a really good. Or like sometimes you have a bad experience, I guess, like in uni or whatever, and then you look back on it. So actually, that was a good thing because I learned from that. Or I don't know. It's
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I think obviously the Q we know, where he can also like you know, he can change his outfit and stuff. So I think if we were omnipotent, like, you know, just if we were going out, we could just get ready like that, or if we were getting ready for bed, putting our pajamas on, we could just like that. It's stuff like that as well, I would like just or like long car journeys. You know, when say if you like visiting family that live far away, you know, or anywhere.
Can I just say, for our listeners in America, I understand we don't understand distance in the UK. I understand you guys travel 5 hours for a day trip, but we don't do that. Because they do over there. I know they do. So they're probably thinking they don't understand distance.
No. But
So
it's stuff like that. We could just like go from here to there like that.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
That's what I would love to do. You know. Yeah. Because I really want to go back to Canada, but like if I was omnipotent, I could go straight to Canada and Canada. Or, cool. Guess it's like you, because you've been in a lot of nice places in the world. You know, you could.
I mean, you can go anywhere in the universe as well, can't you? You can see, kind of like Doctor Who when he takes Rose back to the end of the, you know, well, not back, he just forward to the end of the world and things. You know, this is the end of the world, and it's. I don't know. It's crazy. Like, you know, if you had that power, would you want to see that? I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's interesting. And people can say, "Oh no, of course not." And it's like, well, you don't know until you have the power, you know. And I don't know. And also being like the Q. I mean, I know he has a wife, really, but I mean, I don't know. I can imagine being a Q could be quite lonely as well at times. You know, it's So that's interesting, isn't it? It's this sort of world that you just sort of, no one really trusts you, and you got all this power, and I don't know, it's a weird one. It's and would you give up your powers, for someone or whatever? And it's
I mean, or like especially like a loved one. It's sort of like where you can be with them, but you would have to give up your powers.
Give up your power, yeah.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, would you give it all up, all that power, all that godly power?
Yeah.
It's
you could have anything that you want. You could have money, you could have, food.
Yeah. Well, just think of everything that we take in this world, and that's so important to us. As a Q is nothing. Like, I think a nice way of thinking of this is like a Q really sees us as like literally some specks on a petri dish. That's what we are. Like, we are literally just this experiment. This, like I said, humanity's on trial. We're literally in the Q's hands, and they're just judging us. And they've got all this power, and it's everything that we take that is really important, like our lives and our where we live, and and everything in life. And to them, that's nothing. It's nothing at all. We're literally just a petri dish.
Yeah.
That's really scary thing to think about, but it does. I think that really does sort of sum up the Q as being this. Is just a much powerful entity than we can ever be. And if we were, I in some way, I don't think our minds can really work out what we would do as Qs and how we could, because
that's what I struggle to think about. Really.
I think we can't, actually, formulate an answer that clear that we, do you know what I mean? That we know what to do or what is a Q. Is such a bizarre thing as little mortals as we are. We just can't. Wow. I think we've talked about a lot today. I think definitely got a lot out. Unbelievable, crazy. It's Q. It's a complex subject. That's all I'm saying. Being a Q, it really is. Right then.
One thing I just want to end on.
Of course you can.
Well, no, it's just because it's another one of my favourite Q moments, and it's just so silly and random. But it's where he randomly appears in Picard's ready room, and he's sitting in his chair, and Picard walks in, and he's like, oh, and Q's like, well, say something. And Picard just goes, get out of my chair.
Well, I guess,
classic Picard Q relationship.
It does become that thing where, I mean, it's exactly another one. Obviously, Sisko actually punches him. He's become this sort of character that the Federation are like, oh, he's back again.
Yeah.
Even though, like I said, he's this powerful, this powerful creature, we got to the point where we're just like, just can't be bothered with him anymore. Just cannot be bothered with him. It's just, just go, sort of thing. Yeah.
Anyway,
well, thanks everyone to listening to our Q-pisode,
yes.
14. So of course you could be watching us on our Facebook. Also give us a like on our Facebook group at M&D HQ. Drop us a message and all that. It'd be great to hear from you. Subscribe on our YouTube channel. As again, type in Matt and Dan House of Quark. You find us there. Or listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Anchor, Breaker, Overcast, and Pocket Casts as well. Wherever you're listening from, have a great day. Spread the word of Trek. And remember, as we always say, live long and
prosper.